Okay folks, so welcome to our next video in the series of building a spinning rod, and today we're going to look at putting a handle onto the main stock of the rod. Well, this packet has just arrived, and inside it we have a spinning rod handle. Now this came in the post without any real packaging on it. It's slightly bent, but that shouldn't really matter because it's going to be supported by the rod. And I'm going to leave the plastic on it for the moment. I don't really like these bits of foam at the ends there, and that one's a blank plate, that one, so that's obviously the end. And then we've got a plastic rod support in the middle, and this was pretty cheap, I have to say, and it came from China, and the quality isn't bad, to be honest. It's not too bad, it's reasonable. There's a little washer came with it. I'm not really sure what that's for. So I can see here that the whole caboodle is a little bit longer than actual rod blank. Now that's pretty good because that's kind of what I wanted for it to be slightly longer. I might contrive to use some of the original as part of this, and maybe try and get rid of these black pieces. So I don't really like those much, and I might cover that with aluminium, and the piece at the end might well be sorted out with aluminium too. I'm not really sure yet. But this is the beginning of rehandling the rod. This should make a very nice spinning rod handle. When it came in the packet, I did believe that was a little bit too thin, but it actually looks about right when I look at it. It does taper down a bit at one end for the hand grip. So next step is to remove this, or the bits that I'm going to not use anyway. So keep watching, folks. Okay, so what I've used there is a panel maker's saw to very finely cut the rod off. This tube here will be used to put the balance weights into, and I'm going to make a brass cap for the end there. And largely speaking, that's going to get burned. We're going to keep this pretty much intact, and at the moment the plan is not to use very much of the Chinese cork. Okay, so we've determined that the thumb point on the rod is going to be about there. That's your thumb point kind of thing, and the real mount is going to sit around here. And where this joiner's pencil mark here is, this is where the cork's going to be pared away, and the real mount will sit in that position. Okay, so the rod is marked from the end, and that's so that you get it at the same level all the way around. So insert the knife along the line that you've marked with the joiner's pencil, and then spin the rod around, and that should give you a nice hard edge. And keep the knife on the cork while you're doing it. So this is well stuck. It's not going to come out that easy. That's the original serrations put on by the manufacturer to get the handle to stick on properly. Okay, so you can see that now it's been trimmed away. So we're moving slowly towards our final handle stance, as you can see there. Yeah, that gives us quite a nice little edge on that, and we might yet reshape that a bit further. That's looking like about 15 to me. Slightly less just there. So if I measure inside, 18, so that's 3 millimeters. So well, that means we need to bulk it out by 1.5 mm. So that'll be next. Okay, in order to bulk out the real mount, what we've done is we cut some pieces of card. These pieces of card are 1mm, half millimetre, sorry. So effectively, to get 3mm bulking, we really need 3 layers of these. But because of the effect that you get of bunching of the card, it may well be that we only need 2. So these have been stuck on with impact adhesive, and impact adhesive is very flexible, so you wouldn't want to use epoxy because it's too hard. You can of course get flexible epoxies and that, but that would be a different ball game of course. So you can see how that goes on. Now these are going to be inside this tube here, so they're not likely to get wet or anything, and they're going to be covered in glue anyway. So you can see now how that fits over, and that's got a good bit of drag friction there, and it just ain't moving. So that is pretty good. So we just need to get this last layer on just here, and we've put this on with good old Levo stick, which is an impact adhesive, and then that real mount, which has just fallen on the floor, you probably heard that, that will then be mountable, and we're going to stick that on with a silicone adhesive. And we use the silicone adhesive because it's very strong and it sets anaerobically, and it's also very flexible, which is what you need for fishing rod. Okay, so here we are. We've got all 3 of these on now. These are good bulking agents. This is a pretty solid card. They've all been stuck on pretty well. Now, at this point, this has been done by measuring and being quite precise about it, really. You can, of course, just wind some stuff on and hope for the best, but I prefer not to do that myself, being a trained engineer. So if I wiggle the base area here, I don't get any movement at all, and that's pretty good. And once you get a bit of glue on that, that'll bulk properly, and it'll just be fine. However, if we wiggle the top there, I don't know, I don't know if you can quite see that. You can see it moving a bit. Now that's not good enough, and the reason that's not good enough is because that's the bit of the rod with the reel goes where the mechanical action of the reel and the rod when you've got a fish and so on is probably the most intense. So that we have to bulk that a bit further. Now it currently measures, the white here measures 17, and the inside of the tube here measures 18. So I need to bulk that out by 1/2 mil. This card that I used is 0.6, so I can't use the same card. I'm going to have to use something else to bulk it with, but I will do that, and that should make that nice and tight, and then we'll glue it down. So we've bulked this out now, and we used printer paper to do that, just to get the bulking right, and that's now quite a good slide friction fit on there. Check that now, it's not moving at all, so that's good. So next what we're going to do is glue it. Okay, one of the great advantages of this is that silicone is designed to be a bulking agent, so, and it's flexible, so it should do a really good job of something like this. So I need to line it with these marks here. Now that's where the kind of paying homage to the old rod, I suppose. You can kind of see how tight that is just by the way it's going on there. And I'm also going to pin this, by the way, so I don't want too much of that getting on the handle, so I'm just going to take a bit off of my finger there. I'm not sure how the chemicals are with touching on the skin there, but anyway. So I'm going to force that onto the top of the reel mount there, and then I'm going to wipe it all carefully off. Hopefully that'll work. This little bit of cork's got a plastic all over it, so don't worry about too much about that. Right, so we now wait for that to set, and when it's set we will be in a position to do a bit of finishing. If you look here, this is designed to line up, see where my finger goes, with the old rod ring mounts, just to pay homage to the old rod there. Okay folks, that brings us to the end of this little episode in the project, building a spinning rod. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll come back later on when this is dry and we'll do a little bit more. Thanks so much for watching folks.